News First, Newsline Prime with Faraz Shauketaly.
Hello there, this is Newsline Prime. As always, from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. We're usually live, but at time to time, for different reasons, we're forced to carry a broadcast that has been previously recorded. Your questions, however, will be taken up at a future program. And this evening, our guest is Mr. Vasudeva Nanakara, who obviously needs no introduction. His years of experience and voice from Parliament has been heard by us all. Very good evening and hello and welcome.
Good evening, Faraz.
The theme of this program today, I think, is 3 letters. W-H-Y. Why? Why? And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 questions. And the last question is also nearly why, but it's called what. I think I'm going to start off with the, let's do the whys first, shall we? Why isn't this economy going forward? Why is there no job creation? Why is the growth rate meager, 3.2%? And rural areas such as Khartoum, Korean, etc., where there is no job creation even, and where the opportunities are limited, does it lead to depression? And more of the events like 21-4, could it happen because it is a largely frustrated population? Those are the whys. So why isn't the economy going forward? Why is there no job creation?
Straightforward answer is the wrong policies. These policies are dictated by the IMF. IMF is not interested in growth here. They are interested mostly in repayment of the debts to the financial conglomerates in the world. And they want inflation kept down. Inflation is likely to go up if the growth were to take higher pace. And therefore, state investments have been deliberately kept down in order that less inflation is ensured. And this would help the financiers who have been giving us loans, credit, to recover the amounts together with their interest without having to suffer serious reduction in the value of their recoveries.
Okay, but what about job creation?
Job creation is a result. You don't create jobs, but you carry out a program of development which results in jobs being created.
The Prime Minister promised the general public 1 million jobs.
Yes, but for which he has to go for state investments, state enterprises, and state-led projects of infrastructure development. This really happened to begin during this regime. Whatever is being seen is a continuation of what happened in the last regime.
See, but in the last regime, up to the end of 2014, the growth rate of the economy was around 7%. Last 2018, we're treated to the growth rate figure of 3.2%.
Yes.
It's a bit deplorable, isn't it?
It is.
It's a big come down.
It is a big descent, and it's a serious problem. The moment you have the growth rates come down, every other aspect of the economy goes into what you call swing down, if I will use that term, swing down. The growth rate has been what it is today due to the difference in the policies and perspectives of the last government and this government. Developmental state is the ideology that really led the last regime. Developmental state, which means that the state is at the center of development. Now in this regime, they have withdrawn the state from the developmental projects or developmental perspectives. They would invite everybody else in the private sector, from local to the foreign, to come and invest. And that investment is the only way forward that this government sees for itself. So these two different ideologies have led the two regimes to end up in the results of the economic growth and the downfall of the economic growth.
What is your party, I don't mean you personally, but you along with the SLFP, what are you all planning? What are your plans to address these issues?
My party is the Left Front, Democratic Left Front,
Yeah.
which is in alliance with the larger opposition led by Mahinda Rajapaksa.
Right. What
We
are your
have
plans?
prepared a set of proposals for economic takeoff,
Right.
and which we have already given to the leaders, but this has still not become a topic of discussion. It is time that we began the discussion and have our debate
Yeah.
about the issues that arise,
Right.
and then arrive at some consensus soon. And the main point of departure from what today it is
Yeah.
the responsibility taken over by the state in order to get economic social plan, economic social plan in place, and get the private sector as well as the state to contribute in such proportionate measures as is feasible, but get them together within the plan. That is one. We have a frightening figure given by the ADB recently about malnutrition of children and mothers, and we are among the 4 worst countries which has high levels of children and children's malnutrition and malnutrition of mothers during gestation, during the period of their pregnancies.
I see. Now then, Ms. Vasudeva, whilst we are obviously all patently aware of the events of 21/4 in Sri Lanka and the devastating impact it is already having on various sectors of our economy, including the hospitality, the tourism sector, in that context, are there any plans for you and your political alliance to join hands with President Sirisena and perhaps form truly national emergency sort of government in which all political party leaders represented in a special cabinet, and so that the President, the Prime Minister, and all party leaders can talk as one, so that we present one message about a one Sri Lanka, one nation, one country, one people, one voice. How possible is that, or is that too utopian?
Firstly, we need to have political change in order to encompass the different political parties together. I do not mean as a government or a cabinet, but as a apex advisory body who will be consulted before every policy. because we have constitutional problems in setting up such governments. Therefore, the alternative is to have an advisory body, apex advisory body, whose views will be mandatory.
Right.
And for this purpose, the president and others must come together, definitely.
What about y'all? Why can't y'all make the? Why do you always? Why do we always wait for the others to make the move? Why can't you be proactive? After all, your political alliance includes such political heavyweights as Mahinda Rajapaksa, yourself.
I have made proposals, but it has not been picked up by
who?
others. By others with whom I am in alliance.
Right. And are you hopeful that this is just something beyond the horizon?
Well, it depends on the events,
right,
and circumstances.
Are the circumstances as such as we are faced with now not serious enough? Over 250 days?
Are certainly favorable for coming together of parties the way that you have described. But the question will be on what matters. It will not be long-term or short-term policies regarding economy or the social development. It will be purely on the question of bringing about stability and wiping out the present state of terror, and 3, normalcy together with election. For those 2-3 purposes only. Not to run a government with a perspective short term or long term. But that's not possible because there are divergent policies.
What about a 2-year emergency government?
No, election is primary.
Not even 1 year to get it to
elections is primary. Preferably we should have parliamentary election, preferably, but for which we need 2/3 voting in parliament, which is unlikely to come from the UNP because UNP doesn't want to face such an election. In the meantime, there is this elections due according to the constitution for the presidency, and this may be the first, and already the UNP has been hedging and putting aside the provincial council elections consistently.
Can't we put all these matters on hold because of the security?
No, national security is most important. Security of the people is as important. So the two together can only be realized with a general election.
Remember I said to you at the beginning that there's one question that is not why, but what.
What?
What is, if any, the involvement of Saudi Arabia and the United States?
Well, Saudi Arabian embassy here had given advisory to its staff that there'll be explosion, don't get out of the embassy, stay inside as if you're under curfew, and erase all communication.
Delete communication.
Delete communication. So isn't this the most cogent evidence that Saudi knew about it? I'm not saying they did. They knew about it. Who else knew about it? Then obviously the US ought to have known about it. But the US ambassador says...
Why is that obvious?
Yes, Saudi and US operate together jointly.
Right.
In the matters of passing information, intelligence, etc. And even in operations in some cases. As you know, Khashoggi's matter, how Trump soft-pedaled it in such a nasty manner that it was obvious the arms purchases by Saudi Arabia in billions of dollars is what matters most to Trump.
And then what you're saying is that the petrodollars were worth more than the life of a single journalist, Jamal Khashoggi, whom we still fondly recall because he was a colleague of the global journalistic movement, which is all of us in every single country. Not a day passes by before we remember that Jamal Khashoggi lost his life within the sanctity of a diplomatic compound in his own country's diplomatic compound in Turkey, and his body was dismembered. And in fact, they are yet to find out exactly where his body is, or parts of his body at any rate. I just thought we'll let you touch on that for a minute. But so what you're saying...
So what follows from that
Yeah.
is that US and Saudi knew that this is likely to happen. And if they knew, how could they have known? Through their intelligence, which gives them the necessary material about the people involved in the action that we witnessed in Easter Sunday.
Yes.
If so, why did they not pass this information seriously, diplomatically, to the government of Sri Lanka? And the friend of US and therefore the friend of Saudi Arabia, the Prime Minister, should have
Yes.
been trusted by Saudi Arabia
Yes.
to pass these intelligence reports to Sri Lanka.
Yes.
If that be so, we must conclude or infer that the Prime Minister might have been informed, but the Prime Minister remained silent and remained without pursuing the matter.
Right. I just, finally, I just want to take you back to something even much more local. Drawing on your legal background, drawing on your political expertise and your political experience, we have one minister saying that swords were being kept by various people as a form of self-defense. How logical is that? Legal is that? How necessary is that? And why is it necessary? Or why has it become necessary?
Politically, the preparedness that you can see from the evidence, material evidence that has been unearthed in the form of weapons, explosives, guns, sharp cutting instruments, and many other items like uniforms and other equipment.
Yeah.
These together give us a picture not of self-defense. These together give us the picture that there was a moment that they were preparing for a moment when they will go into a serious civil conflict, civil war. And that is what gives me the impression, which has been prompted by the extremist Muslim ideology that has been spread among certain sections of the Muslim community to believe that the area of Sri Lanka or such area out of Sri Lanka made an enclave of Muslim, I won't say IS, Muslim dominated, Muslim led political power.
And this is all turned out in an unrelated country full of 21 million liberal-minded, thinking, peace-loving population. So Sri Lanka is having to pay. Is that a bit unfair that that is all landed here?
Yes. One has to ask the question, why was Sri Lanka chosen for this purpose?
Yes.
Is it because of lax security? No. I say no. Then they could have chosen Nepal equally.
Yes. But why Sri Lanka?
Why Sri Lanka? The important question. Sri Lanka is geopolitically a very important center.
Is it because our non-aligned policies have been watered down in recent years?
This is partly true. The fact that we have got involved with the US facilitations,
Yes.
US military facilitations, to such an extent that we are being treated as a suspect, and therefore the kind of conflict and potential conflict that can come about between US and Iran on the one hand, US and China on the other hand, has its implications here. I can't very perfectly, logically draw the line between
You can't connect the dots.
I can't connect the dots. But these are the major factors why Sri Lanka had been chosen. This country should have been chosen for this attack.
Well, Mr. Vasunanekara, many thanks for coming on our program. I know that your schedule is tight, but as always, we've enjoyed your analysis, and I do hope that you pursue this business of having a truly national emergency form of government to carry Sri Lanka through these testing and trying and challenging times. I do hope that you will have some success at working towards that. And as a network, we are always here to represent the people's interests.
Thank you.
So we wish you well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And do come back here. That's the way it was on Newsline Prime. Take care, have a great evening, and God bless.
News First, Newsline Prime with Faraz Shauketaly.